Earth is a special place. It's the only planet with air that we know of. Without air, we wouldn't be able to live. Air is all around us, but you can't see it and you can't taste it. Sometimes when air moves, we do feel it, and when it moves very fast, we can hear it. Air is actually pretty strong. If you take a cup and put it upside down in water, the water does not go inside of the cup. That tells you that air in the cup is strong enough to keep the water from going in. Air takes up space. It makes the water in the tank rise when you put the cup in it. Clouds float because air is strong enough to hold them up. If we didn't have air on Earth, you wouldn't be able to fly a kite, and you wouldn't be able to bounce a ball. Guess what's inside of a basketball? Air. To show you just how strong air is, fill up a balloon and tie it closed. Then sit on it. Look what happens here. The air inside of the balloon gets squeezed, and the balloon does not even pop. Air is really strong if it can hold up a person. This is important to know when we study weather. When air moves, it can make other things move. Blow on a pinwheel to make it spin. Whenever air moves, it's wind. Wind is always happening around the Earth. If you blow up another balloon and then let go of it, the balloon flies away. The air that you squeezed into the balloon tries to get out all at once. As it comes out, the air pushes the balloon away. When a lot of air gets squeezed into one space, it gets stronger and a little heavier. If you fill your bicycle tire with air, the air holds you up and you can ride your bike for a long time. Think of all the air that gets squeezed into a car or truck tire. That's a lot to hold up something so heavy. We measure how strong the air is with a weather instrument called a barometer. A barometer tells us if the air is heavy or light. If air is heavy, the barometer shows us high pressure. High pressure usually means dry, sunny weather. If air is light, the barometer shows us low pressure. We find low pressure with cloudy or wet weather. When you look at a weather map and see the letter H for high pressure and the letter L for low pressure, you know that there's a lot more air squeezed around the high pressure than there is around the low pressure. Just like when we squeezed air into the balloon and let it go and the air came out, the air leaves the H where it is squeezed and crowded together and it moves toward the L. This is wind because the air is moving. Always remember that air goes from high pressure to low pressure. When the wind is light and gentle, we call it a breeze. If it moves very fast, it's a gust. And if it moves fast for a long time, it's a gale. There would be no wind if we didn't have air. Another special thing about air is that when it gets warm, it grows and spreads out. When air gets cold, it shrinks and takes up less space. You can set up a simple experiment to show this. Take a small bottle with a balloon on top and place it inside of a container of ice water. Watch the balloon. Now take the small bottle out and put it inside of a container of warm water. What happens to the balloon? When we put the bottle and balloon in the cold water, the air inside of it gets colder and shrinks, so the balloon gets smaller. Cold air takes up less space and gets heavy. When the bottle is in the warm water, the balloon gets bigger because the warm air inside the bottle grows and takes up more space. Now, when we think of air and pressure, you can say that cold air is more squeezed together. It takes up less space than warm air, so it is heavy and has higher pressure. Warm air grows and takes up more space than cold air, so it is lighter and has lower pressure. In a hot air balloon, we can see how the warm air is light enough for the balloon to float in the sky. You can show how cold air sinks by putting blue ice cubes in water. Watch how the cold blue color falls to the bottom of the water.
It's going down slow.
Cold air sinks and warm air rises. All of this makes wind blow from cold high pressure toward warm low pressure. This is happening right now all over the Earth. Wind never stops everywhere because the sun heats our planet and makes the air move. Sunlight travels through space to bring us heat. You can call it radiation if you want. Radiation from the sun is light and heat, and it is also energy. It's energy because it can make things move. Radiation from the sun gives heat to the earth to make the air move as wind. It's just what we looked at a minute ago. Some parts of the earth get warmer than others, and the warm air grows and spreads out. It gets lighter and rises to make low pressure. Places on Earth that are cold have air that is squeezed together. The cold air is heavy and sinks, so it makes high pressure. This happens every day because the equator is warmer than the North or South Pole. Air is always warm and rising at the equator and cold and sinking over the North and South Poles. In between, we have wind. The job of the wind is to carry colder air to the warmer air so that parts of the Earth don't get too hot and parts don't get too cold. The wind does an important job because it helps to make our planet comfortable. There is a special wind that stays way above the ground. It is always strong and it pushes weather systems around the Earth. That wind is called the jet stream. The jet stream is about 6 miles or 10 kilometers above the ground. The jet stream wind can blow between 100 and 200 miles per hour. That's 160 to 320 kilometers per hour. Now you can see how heat, wind, and pressure are all tied together. The heat makes air warmer and lighter. When air gets lighter, the pressure gets lower, and air spreads out and rises. Where air is cold, it is heavier and has higher pressure. Cold air sinks. The air moves as wind from the high pressure to the low pressure. It rises with the warm air and then spreads out. After it spreads out above the ground, it goes back to where the cold air was and sinks. Then it starts all over again. When air moves in a circle, we call it a circulation. People who live near oceans and lakes see circulations when the land is hot and the water is not. In the afternoon, when the sun heats the land, the air gets warmer and lighter, and it rises. The pressure gets lower. At the same time, over the water, the air stays cooler, so it is heavier and sinks to make high pressure. The wind blows from the water to the land and helps to make a circulation. This is why you feel a cool breeze near lakes or the ocean in the summer. A cool breeze is nice when the air is hot. It helps to make you more comfortable. Without the breeze, you might get too hot to stay outside. You can always know how hot it is by reading the temperature from a thermometer. In the summer, when the sun is high in the sky, you do have to be careful of a few things. The radiation from the sun that gives us light and heat also gives people suntans. Make sure that you don't stay in the sun too long. When your shadow is shorter than you are, be especially careful. A short shadow means that the sun is high in the sky and its radiation is strong. When you play outside on bright summer days, use a special lotion to protect your skin. Some lotions have a sunblock to help keep you from getting a sunburn. It's a good idea when it is sunny and hot to drink plenty of water. Wear a cap to protect your head from the sun, along with light-colored clothes. Sunglasses help to protect your eyes. If you play outside and your body gets too hot, you can get sick. People who work or play outside for a long time might get heat stroke or heat exhaustion if they are not careful. Always slow down when it gets very hot. When you get too hot, your body tells you because you start to perspire or sweat. That's your body's way of cooling you down, the same way a thunderstorm cools down a city on a hot day. If you perspire a lot, then slow down and drink more water. When you go swimming on a hot day, the water cools you down. Once you get out of the water, you might actually get cold. The wind helps to dry you off as the water disappears from you into the air. That's called evaporation. Evaporation makes things cooler. We feel heat and cold with our bodies. We see wind when things move. We can't see air pressure, but all three of these are connected like a family. You can't have one without the others. All three of them keep our planet comfortable as they move clouds and rain around the world. The sun sends heat to Earth to warm the air. The warm air grows, rises, and makes the pressure go lower. Cold air takes up less space. It sinks and makes the pressure go higher. In between the cold air and warm air is wind. The wind moves from the high pressure to low pressure and tries to even out the temperature. When this happens over and over, it's called a circulation. Always remember that heat, wind, and pressure are never apart. They are like a family, and you are weather smart. Let's take a quiz about heat, wind, and pressure. Answer these questions true or false. Number 1. When air is moving, it is wind. Number 2. Air pressure tells you how heavy the air is. Number 3. Warm air sinks to the ground. Number 4. The earth gets its heat from the sun. Number 5. A barometer tells you the wind direction. Number 6. The jet stream moves weather around the earth. Number 7. Cold air is heavier than warm air. Number 8. Thermometers tell you how warm air is. Number 9. Somewhere on Earth, air is always moving. Number 10. We could live without air.